Hi people, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today we're covering the topic on the famous topic of the theory of change. So what is a theory of change? The theory of change is a representation of how a project or program or policy initiative is expected to lead to the outcomes and impacts. It identifies the underlying assumptions being made with respect to how change will occur. So in simple terms, basically a theory of change is just a representation of how you hope your project or program will lead to its specific objectives or outcomes and impacts. So you're theorizing and making assumptions of how a particular project will lead to its outcomes or objectives of the project. A theory of change can also be called the program theory. It's based on theoretical assumptions made on why the policy or program will be successful. So you're making theoretical assumptions of why the project or program chosen will be successful. The theory of change forms the backbone of the systematic policy analysis. It explains how activities are undertaken by an intervention in a policy or program or project to contribute to the chain of results. It's also a causal logic that links the research activities to the desired changes in the actors that a project or program is targeting to change. So the theory of change can be called various names. Various organizations can call it different names. It can be called the results chain, the logic model, the program theory, or the impact pathway. So you'll find different projects or programs can decide to name the theory of change at different names. You'll find a particular program calling it the impact pathway, another program or project calling it a program theory, another the logic model or the results chain. That is all to mean the theory of change. You're theorizing and making assumptions of what will actually make you achieve your project's objectives or outcomes. A theory of change. Why do we develop a theory of change? This is normally developed during the planning stage. It's very useful for your monitoring and evaluation. It can help you develop better key evaluation questions. It can help you develop indicators for monitoring, because we've looked at it, that it looks at all the hierarchy of results. So in the hierarchy of results, in my earlier videos, you can look at it. You can ably define your indicators depending on the hierarchy of results. It identifies gaps in available data, prioritizes additional data collection, and provides a structure for data analysis and importing. All that can be done using the theory of change. The theory of change can ably demonstrate the use of the results chain. And as I said earlier, the results chain includes the following, which I mentioned. You can look at my videos in earlier videos. The results chain, which is the impact. These are long-time widespread improvements in society. Outcomes can be behavior changes, short-term or long-term outcomes. Outputs, these are products and services. And then activities, these are tasks to be undertaken to achieve the products and services. Then inputs are the financial, human, material, and resources at time that you need to implement your activities. So what is exactly in the theory of change? One, it's comprised of the change theory, that what you theorize will lead to the change you hope to obtain. The potential unintended results, both positive and negative. The assumptions on which the theory is based. How participants engage in a program or project. And how are results expected to be sustained as the program or project or policy ends. Participants' engagement. All these are incorporated when you're designing your theory of change or program theory or impact pathway. You need to include your change theory, the potential unintended results, both positive and negative, the assumptions on which the theory is based. The theory you've mentioned that maybe this is the theory that will lead to this change. How participants in the program will be engaged, and the policies and the results expected to be sustained as the program or project ends. Yeah. So key elements summarizing the theory of change, as I said, it's also done according to the hierarchy of results. There is your goal here. This is just a sample example, but I'm going to give you another example. The goal, maybe your goal is refugees are economically self-sufficient. In the objectives, employable male and female refugee clients, stable employment, earning per hour or more with health benefits. And the outcomes of this objective is employable male. So when you're developing your theory of change, what should you know exactly when you're developing your theory of change before you go to this particular example, which is from your side? The process of developing your theory of change, you need to know exactly the situation analysis. In your situation analysis, here you describe the context within which the problem exists and is addressed. The core step in this process is to get clarity on the problems identified and their relevance. When you're doing your situation analysis, identify the problem and its relevance, identify the core problem, identify the causes and effects of the problem and their relationship to each other, and also gain an understanding of how the problem influences the different parties involved, such as the stakeholders, the target group members. Yeah, this can also be summarized in it's something called the problem tree or problem tree analysis. So it's very important when you're developing your theory of change that you do your situation analysis of the exact problem, because this in turn helps you know how you're going to actually address this problem and lead to the impact you want to see. That is the theory of change, the change you want to see. So if you know your problem, that this is the core problem, you have identified the core problem, you know what is the cause and effect of this problem, and you know, have an understanding how it affects the stakeholders involved in this problem. So you can ably develop your theory of change, or your change theory. Yeah, so in the statement of problem, also in your situation analysis, you need to know the statement of problem, that what are the causes, what are the socio-economic, environmental systems of the problem, yeah, and how that affects the stakeholders. Yeah, so let's look at this example of a theory of change here. I said other people can call it the logic model or impact pathway. It has so many names. So this is a program for your side, and here in the I've given you it works with the hierarchy of results, but this can also be named differently according to the different projects or programs. So here the long-term goal is interested coastal biodiversity in Flores Delta. Yeah, Flores Delta. And intended activity purpose, or you can call it the objective, is coastal habitat conservation improved. So being this is a big program, it is divided into components. So you can also know, according to the project or program you're handling, some are component based and they are big. If it's a program, it can have like 3 different components, that is 3 different projects. So since this is a program, it has 2 different components. And as I said earlier, it's still you when you're doing your theory of change, you're looking at the hierarchy of results, the goal, the impacts, the outputs, and the activities. And also you can include your inputs. So yeah, looking at this project, this program, it's based on components. So they have component 1 and 2, and it's long and short-term outcomes. Yeah, they defined short and long-term outcomes being under component 1, they have private sector engagement, which is and coordination with local government, which is the outcome. Yeah. And under this, they have IP members increase their coastal conservation practices and investments. LG are able to leverage support. So they are theorizing what will actually lead to this and making assumptions what will actually lead to this outcome, this long-term outcome. Under component 2, they're having effective co-management of locally managed marine areas between fisheries and local government established. Yeah, LG increased the enforcement of local fishing and legislations, and local fisheries strengthen their commitment to sustainable fishing. Yeah. Then the interventions, they clearly identify the interventions, which are the activities they hope to implement, activities and outputs that will lead to the long and short-term outcomes. And under this, they've mentioned maybe engage existing private sector. So just to mention this, you have to be coherent when you're designing this, that all these things you're mentioning have to lead to one another and have to be cohesive with one another. If you're mentioning a particular output, I cannot go in detail of this example, but when you look at it, you can read and understand that this activity and output is actually feeding into this outcome. So when you're designing, as I said, when you've done your thorough association analysis, you know that this is exactly the problem, what is the cause, how is it affecting, how is it affecting the stakeholders. So you know this is how I'm going to address it. And how am I going to address it? This is the objective I said. These are the outcomes. These are the outputs I'm going to design to see that this problem is addressed and are feeding into each other. So you've basically understood that point. And these are the activities I'm going to implement to lead to that change. Yeah. So the intervention has strengthened local government capacity to lead and coordinate coastal conservation multiple partners. And they mentioned there are key entry points that will help them in employing these interventions are alignment of economic and conservation interests, international tourism and brands, major local brands. Yeah. And then they've also mentioned the local actors. These are people who are affected, who will be affected. The private sector, the local government units, and local fisheries, since it's a fisheries project. So this is a sample of a theory of change for a biodiversity project in Floresa Delta. Yeah, it's divided into components that are mentioned in the long-term outcomes and short-term outcomes. Yeah, the interventions or activities I hope to implement to lead to those outcomes, and the entry points or assumptions, how the project will be successful, and the support they may need, and the key people who are being affected. Yeah. So this is it about the theory of change. You can go back and practice and try and theorize a theory of change. Do a theory of change for your project or program you're doing at home with the hierarchy of results. The example I mentioned earlier, but with also this, you can look at it deeply. Thank you very much. That has been it. Thank you once again.